My wife, I'll call her Sarah, and I worked for a pretty big not-for-profit in Western Canada. This particular organization is in the public eye and has a lot to do with politicians, and for the last 8 or so years, our organization has been trying to get a certain agreement signed and recognized by the federal government. Anyways, without getting too into details of that, my wife's position meant that she was constantly on the news and working with big wigs and traveling the country and kissing people's asses. I guess literally and figuratively now. I found out she was cheating on me with her assistant that she hired about 6 months ago. She was in the department upstairs and me in the registration department. We actually met at the organization 8 years ago. We both started within a few months. We both worked our asses off to get into the positions that we're in now. It wasn't easy. And like I said, she kisses ass and she's super charismatic and has a way with words. When she speaks, people listen. When she walks into a room, she demands people's attention. I'm a little more introverted, and for years, that really worked for us. Well, I ended up having some health troubles and had to go on short-term disability. So I wasn't at work for a little bit, and this is sort of when this all started. Or at least when I figured something was up. Some things to note: I'm almost positive that her assistant didn't know we were married. I'm sure of this because he would look at me strange when I brought her lunch or brought her coffee in the mornings. He looked at me as if like, who the heck are you? He knew who I was and that I worked in the building, but I'm not sure that Sarah ever told him who I was to her. I mean, it's not like we went around the building saying, hey, we're married. But like the people who work there know, and gossip travels fast around this organization because people like drama and like starting drama. Which is why I ended up finding out that things were going on. A little background info. Sarah is 45 and I'm 43. It turns out that we actually went to the same high school, but it was a bigger school, so our paths never crossed. We have 2 kids. We have a son who's 7 and a daughter who's 5. They literally the loves of my life, and I truly believe my life didn't start until they arrived. We hit it off right away. And at the time, it was a big deal that we started seeing each other at work because it was against office policy to date anyone that you worked with. Technically, Sarah and I never really worked together because we dealt with such different issues, but when we had company-wide meetings, obviously we'd see each other there, and sometimes the projects I was working on would overlap with what she was dealing with upstairs. Eventually people just let it slide and it just became another thing. And like I said, we never screamed it off the rooftops and nobody seemed to mind. Not only that, but when you work in an office, people get kind of crazy. People flirt with everybody. And my wife is attractive. I will say that. And I constantly heard it from other people, and I even heard it from a lot of the female staff. People in an office space get kinda horny. It's sort of pathetic in a way. So her assistant, I'll call him Trevor. He's 29. He has a political science degree. I'll admit it, he's a good-looking guy. And there was only about 12 men in the whole building compared to like 40 or so women. So we were outnumbered. And when Trevor started, these single ladies literally pounced at him. From the start, it seemed like Sarah could have cared less. She seemed all business. She didn't even bring him up to me really. I knew that she was hiring an assistant, but I didn't know that she hired a male. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But when I saw him and saw how good looking he was, I sort of understood why she didn't say anything. And at one point, she even said that he reminded her of me. But a young version of me. And then another time she said that Trevor was the version of me if I didn't get in my own head and I took a different career path. I was sort of offended by that. How am I supposed to take that? When I found out she hired him and didn't tell me for a few weeks, I asked her why. And she said, why is it such a big deal? And then she laughed in my face and she said that I felt threatened by a little boy. I'm like, threatened? And she's like, yeah, you're jealous. And yeah, I guess I was in some way. And yeah, maybe I was threatened. But I tried to argue to her that her omitting the fact that he was a guy and was good looking sort of made a point. And she said I was being ridiculous because I wouldn't have had the same reaction if it was a good looking woman. And I was like, yeah, okay, true. But would she still have slept with him and made comments that he reminded her of a young me if it was a woman? No. Not only that, but I heard our secretary asking her questions about Trevor and they'd both be giggling. Another red flag. Yeah, okay, maybe I was jealous, but who wouldn't be? Not only that, but I wasn't feeling well physically, so it was really eating away at me. I wasn't feeling my best. I wasn't my best. And I knew it. And I feel like Sarah really took advantage of that. So yeah, I go on short-term disability and this means I'm at home for a couple of weeks. I become the main caregiver for my kids. And Sarah starts to work really long hours and goes away on trips. So when she was on these trips, she took this assistant with her. And then she's posting pictures on Instagram of herself in clothes that aren't really professional. Or like on the beach, and I can tell that she has no bikini top on. The photo is just of her. But I know that he's with her. I comment on the photo and I'm like, scandalous, but she doesn't react to it or anything. Then I creep Trevor's page, he's got a public page, and see that he's in fact posting photos of the same beach, but it's of the water. But then I know that they're together and I know that my wife is laying on the beach next to him without a bikini top on. I text her and I'm like, should you be posting photos like that on Instagram? And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you're not wearing a shirt and you're showing a lot of skin. Do you think that's smart to be doing when you have the position that you do? People look up to you. And then we got in a huge fight and she didn't talk to me for the rest of her